Okay. So, questions here from you guys about these previous couple of homeworks. We'll start there. So I think last time we met, we gave you time in class to work on homeworks 1 and 2. I just wanted to check base here and see if there's questions from either of those. Bianca?
Did you do number 8 on
Okay, homework 1, number 8, you say?
And I was wondering basically, when you get there, if I did too much with you.
Okay, so 8 is actually satisfies 2. So this is probably most easily identifiable as vertex form. So in this case, the leading coefficient is 1 because there's really nothing out front. The h is -1 because we're like, got to think about the pluses, minus, and negative. And the k is 0 because there's nothing added to the end. Now you could have also thought about this as intercept form, because you could have thought about it as that, in which case a is 1, p is -1, and q is -1.
I did it that way. And is that all I needed to write?
Yep, those are all you need to, that's all you need to do for these. It's just practicing, like, can I look at something and figure out which form it is and pull out those constants, because we're going to use those later on in formulas to do stuff. So I just wanted some practice here early on and making sure you can get the correct values out of it. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Okay. Callie?
Did you number 1 on
Sure. Yeah, go ahead, Alexis. A, P, and Q. That's a Q at the end. So the intercept form formula is this. So here's my A, P, and Q. You're welcome. Hallie, you wanted to look at homework 2, number 1. Is that correct? Okay. Okay. So here we're just looking for the 2 values that satisfy a times c equal, multiply to give a times c and add to give b. So we have to multiply to get 6 and add to get 5. So I start with the multiplication. So 1 times 6 gives us 6, but doesn't add to give us 5. -1 and -6 multiply to give us 6, but don't add to give us 5. 2 times 3 multiply to give us 6, and they do add to give us 5. So that's what we need, is 2 and 3. And that's it. That's all you need to do for those. So we're just practicing finding those 2 numbers, because that's a key part of being able to do any of these factorings. So just wanted to practice this without having to worry about the factoring part afterwards. The better you learned your times tables back when you were a little sprout, the better off things would be going in this, because you'll find that most of these are going to be like your times table kind of answers. You know, like 2 times 3 is something we should remember from our times table. Now we're kind of going in the reverse direction, right? We're like thinking about what multiplies to give us 6. But to find those things, you would be using that kind of times table memorization that you did way back in elementary school or whatever. Every year I think about making you guys do like those timed multiplication practice worksheets like you did in elementary school.
I was so bad at those.
Yeah. If you're good at those, this should go well then, because a lot of these questions really, it helps if you know your times tables. Nines have the shortcut, right?
Yeah, nines have the 1 or 0.
We're like, if 9 times 3, if you take 3 fingers down, it's 27, right? Because there's 7 fingers left.
Well, I was gonna say, if you do like 1 through 9 or whatever, you do like, I can't remember. It's like 9 to 1. I remember someone said, yeah, it's 9 to 1, and you like down.
Yeah.
0, 1, 2.
No, look, if it's 9 times 5, so you're this finger down, 9 times 6. See, that's how
I got it.
Anyways, Alexis.
You're number 11 on the homework too.
Sure. Yes. All right. So Alexis, the first thing I'm going to do is start. Can we stop talking, please? I'm going to identify my values for A, for B, and for C. And then I'm going to start by looking for the two numbers that multiply to give me A times C, which is 7, and add to give me B, which is 8. Well, there's only two pairs of numbers that multiply to give me 7. 7 and 1, or negative 7 and positive 1. So it's 7 and 1 that I want. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rewrite the 8x in the middle as 7x plus 1x. Okay with that? Then I'll make my two groups. I'm sorry, what? So when I factor this out, yep, you're using the shortcut that we haven't talked about yet. So from the first, I can take out a greatest common factor of x. From the second group, I can take out a greatest common factor of 7. And then if I look at the whole pieces, each of those have an x plus 7. So when I factor that out, I'm left with x plus 1. So Alexis, we do need to be able to do this process also, because not everything you can do using the shortcut. Just as a heads up. Okay. So A is 1, B is negative 8, and C is negative or positive 24. Okay. So we need two numbers that multiply to give us A times C, so 24, and add to give us negative 8. Okay, so the things that multiply to give us 24 are like 1 and 24, not give us 8, negative 1, negative 24, not 8, 2 and 12, not 8, negative 2 and negative 12, not 8, 3 and 8, again, not negative 8, negative 3 and negative 8, nope. And then 4 and 6, nope. And negative 4, negative 6, nope. And then 7 doesn't work, or I'm sorry, 5 doesn't work, 6 doesn't, and then 6 is back to a pair that we already have here, right? So what does that say? So we'll just write down, it's not no solution, we're going to say it's not factorable. And really, let's be clear on this, because it's an important point. It's not factorable using this method. This does factor, depending on how you're defining, like, what does factorable mean. But for us right now, it's not factorable. Okay, Allie? Yep. Not yet. Eventually, I'll put it in there. Yes. Bianca?
Can we get another one from the top? Can we get number 3?
From this,
Same one too.
so like this one here?
Sure. I don't know.
Okay. So multiplies to give us 10 and adds to give us negative 7. So make ourselves a little chart here. We always start with the multiplication problem. So if it multiplies to give us 10, you could have 1 and 10, or -1 and -10, but neither of those add to give us -7. You could have 2 and 5, and -2 and -5. Positive 2 and positive 5 don't work. Those add to give us +7, but the negatives do. So those are the two numbers that we needed, -2 and -5. Okie dokie. Okay. Alexis? Let's see. Do I have that number on here, or do I need to go get it? I need to go get it. So again, we'll start by writing down our values for A, for B, and for C. I then need to find the two numbers that multiply to give us A times C. So that is -90. And add to give us B, which is -1. Now, without writing these all out, does anybody see what the two numbers are right away? It's relatively easy to see. Close. And +9. Very good. Right? So those will multiply to give us -90 and add to give us +1. It was relatively easy because the 10s make it easy to find that. Okay, so now we'll rewrite this. So in place of the -1x, I'll write -10x plus 9x. And we'll make two groups. From the first group, we'll look for a greatest common factor. So what divides both 6x squared and -10x? 2x. Very good. When I divide 6x squared by 2x, I get 3x. And when I divide -10x by 2x, I get -5. Okay with that, Alexis? We'll do the same thing now for 9x minus 15. What divides both of those? 3. Okay, so 9x divided by 3 is 3x, and -15 divided by 3 is -5. And then if I look, each of these has a 3x minus 5 in it. So when I factor those out, I'm left with 2x plus 3. And I'm done. Allie? So let's do 16, I suppose. A is 1, B is 0, and C is -49. So I need the two numbers that multiply to give me -49, 1 times -49, and add to give us 0. Yep. No, you're right. Yep. Yep. So -7 and +7 are the two numbers you need. Very good. So we'll do the same thing. And we'll rewrite that as x squared minus 7x plus 7x and make two groups. From the first group, we can take out an x. The second group, we can take out a 7. And then that leaves us with a common factor of x minus 7. So we have x minus 7 times x plus 7. Probably the biggest key here was recognizing that b was 0. And if you didn't see that, or didn't think to do that, that would have been quite puzzling. Where is it? Andrew.
So, like A is 1, B is 0, how do you know it's like a B?
No, it's not a dumb question. So the standard form for a quadratic is this. The b is the part attached to the single x. The c is the part that has no variable on it. The a is the part with the x squared on it. So it's not the order in which they're written, it's the variable that they're attached to. You're welcome. Hi, Evan. We're just talking about the homework. Okay. Feel okay? All right. Today, we're going to talk about factoring shortcuts. So there's 3 situations where we can avoid having to do all of the algebra for the full method. Cool, right? So the first situation is the one that that Alexis was mentioning earlier. That situation is where if the leading coefficient is 1. So if the leading coefficient is 1, once we find these 2 numbers that multiply to give us AC and add to give us B, we can take those and go straight to our factored form. We don't have to do that grouping step. So if the leading coefficient is 1, all we really need to do is find the 2 numbers, and that allows us to write our factored answer without having to do any of the algebra. So let's do a quick example of kind of demonstrating how we do that. So let's say we have x squared minus x minus 56. We'd still want to start by identifying the values for A, for B, and for C. And we still need to find the 2 numbers that multiply to give us A times C. And also add to give us B. Does anybody see those 2 numbers off the top of their head? Okay, that's all right. So we can always check this by just kind of making a list. So we'll just start with things that multiply to give us negative 56. So 1 and negative 56, or negative 1 and positive 56. Neither of those add to give us negative 1. There's 2 and negative 28, or negative 2 and positive 28. Those don't work. Good. Where were you a few minutes ago when I was asking that?
No, I'm still really bad.
It's okay. I'm just giving you a hard time, Alexis. But thank you. Yes, that's exactly right. So once we have that, we can go straight to our answer, x minus 8 times x plus 7. You don't have to do any other algebra. Once you've answered that question of how we multiply to get AC and add to get AB, or get to add to get B, you can just write down the answer. Now keep in mind, this only works if that leading coefficient is 1. If that leading coefficient is not 1, you cannot do this. Is everybody clear on that? Okay. The second situation is if b equals 0 and we're in the form of dx squared minus e squared, or d squared x squared. In this case, this will go straight to the factored form dx plus e times dx minus e. So let's say we have 4x squared minus 25. So again, I'd start by identifying the values for A, for B, and for C. Since B is 0, what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the B or the A and C parts. I notice that A is something squared, and C is the negative of something squared. Everybody okay with that? That's all I need. So now I can say 2x plus 5 times 2x minus 5. Where the 2 is coming from this, and the 5 is coming from that part. Whoa! That's pretty nice, right? We don't even have to worry about finding two numbers. That's even easier. Okay, so far so good. The third, yes, go ahead. No. I'm just using these weird letters because we've already used like A, B, and C other place. I don't want to confuse by trying to double use like A and B here or something. So I've just intentionally chosen another letter in the formulas there. All the textbook would just write A squared minus B squared there, and I think that that's gets confusing to students because we already use A and B other places. So I intentionally picked weird letters there. Okay. The third situation is if C is 0. This is the easiest of them all. All we need to do is worry about taking out a greatest common factor. So, for example, if I have 4x squared minus 8x, here A is 4, or B is negative 8, and C is 0. Since C is 0, all I need to do is look for a greatest common factor. So what divides both 4x squared and negative 8x? Let's start with the constants part. What divides both 4 and 8? 4. Okay. What divides both x squared and x? X. So 4x is my greatest common factor. When I divide 4x squared by 4x, I'm left with just x. 4 divided by 4 is 1. X squared divided by x is just x. And then if I do negative 8x divided by 4x, I get negative 2, right? Negative 8 divided by 4 is negative 2. X divided by x is 1. And that's it. We're done. That's all you have to do. This is the easiest situation when C is 0. Or the best shortcut, because there's really nothing difficult to do. It's just like a little greatest common factor thing. Now, the drawback here is that we don't have any good shortcut that if we have all A, B, and C, and A is non-zero. Or I'm sorry, is not 1. Oops. One thing we can do, though, this is not really a shortcut, but it can kind of create a shortcut. So let's say we have 2x squared plus 14x plus 24. If my leading coefficient isn't 1, the first thing I want to do here is I want to check to see if there's a greatest common factor. If you look at the coefficients, 2, 14, and 24 are all a multiple of 2. So we could begin by taking a greatest common factor of 2 out. And now if you look at the quadratic that we have left, what do you notice has happened here? The value for A is now 1. So what can we do? We can do our shortcut, right? So I need two numbers that multiply to give me 12 and add to give me 7. 3 and 4 are the ones I need. So I have the 2 still stays out front. And then I have x plus 3 times x plus 4. And I'm done. Will I be able to do this every time? No. But when I can do it, boy, that saves me a lot of effort, because now I don't have to do a complicated factoring. I can use the shortcut. Is everybody okay with these 4 examples here? Okay. So from homework 3 forward, if there's an opportunity to use one of these shortcuts, you are encouraged to use these shortcuts. So I'm dropping homework 3 into the content library right now. And I'll just kind of state the directions here. Before I release you to kind of work on things. So for homework 3, it says factor each quadratic expression. Use a shortcut if possible. Otherwise, you need to show your work. So this is an assignment where I want you to use the shortcuts. And really from here on forward, if you can use a shortcut, I want you to use it. We don't need to be doing more writing than we need to, right? Let's try to get efficient at doing this. Okay? So for the remainder of today, the next, 40 minutes or so, 35 minutes or so, I'd like you to work on your math homework. So whether you still have things to finish up on homeworks 1 and 2, or if you're ready to start working on homework 3, that's what I'd like us to do for the next 30 minutes or so. With any luck, if we're caught up to today and you work efficiently, you could probably be done with your math homework before you leave school today, which would be splendid. The Sunday homework check is going to be these assignments 1, 2, and 3. Hopefully you already have a majority of that done based on the time we gave yesterday and the time we're going to give today. You'll have, if not all of it done, most of it done, to where you only have a little bit to do this weekend. Okay? If you get stuck on anything or have questions about something, feel free to come up and ask me. But at this point, you should take out your tablet, sync up your OneNote if you can't already see homework 3 in the content library, and get started. Sound good? Cool.